All right, we're continuing in the speech, the comments actually made in 1958 by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the Passover evening. And of course, they were remembered by his pupils and written down, and then afterwards given into him to for his okay. And this is what we got. Okay, so these are all comments made by the Rebbe at the night of the Seder. Hine, kol giluyim, all the revelations, of godliness and of spirituality, which we Jews are waiting for, that God is going to reveal himself. The creator of the universe is going to reveal himself, because that's the whole thing of Judaism, right? God revealed himself. God revealed himself to take the Jews out of Egypt. He revealed himself when he split the sea. He revealed himself when he gave the Torah. That's the whole thing of Judaism, right? Well, not exactly right. That's the thing of the Jewish people, of official Judaism. But the fathers of Judaism did not leave Egypt. The fathers of Judaism were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who lived some 400 years. They were born at least before 400 years before the Jews left Egypt. So that was the father of Judaism. We'll talk about that a little bit. Here we go. It says, "Hine, behold, all the revelations of godliness that are going to be in the future depend on our deeds now in the time of the exile." 2000. That's in the Tanya, chapter 37. And it's known, the Yidua, it's known, Asher la'atid, that in the future will be another time going out of Egypt. And like we said before, we just learned in the morning, even in the nighttime. What does it mean? That even Jews that are far away from all these ideas about God and revealing God and thinking about serving God, nevertheless, that's like Tuesday in the nighttime. So they'll also go out of Egypt. So Paul is Tosefus, this adds the fact that we know that every Jew is going to wake up as Judaism and be a contributing and a positive factor to reveal good in the whole entire world. This gives us happiness right now. Kol Yanim, everything that's going to be revealed in the future redemption, which is supposed to happen right now, right? I mean, it's the thing, just like creating the world happened, and whoop, that's it. And God took the Jews out of Egypt, even though it was a long process in Egypt, but we've been a longer process, right? So just like they left Egypt, whoop, like that, and they were given the Torah, so it is also going to be the future redemption. So everything that it is in the future redemption, when God is going to reveal himself even more than it was to Adam when he was in Gan Eden, or how the Jews received on Mount Sinai, even more. Excuse me 1 second. It's all here now. What does it mean it's all here now? God is everywhere. God is creating everything. We just don't see it. And God is not just this spiritual feeling. God is life. We'll feel new abilities and potentials for good and for love, etc., that we never dreamed we have, but we do have. So all the things that are going to be revealed except for the raising of the dead. But I mean, even the raising of the dead, if you think about what's it going to be, people that were alive, they just won't be dead anymore. So all the things which are dead inside of us, also right now, they'll be revealed. Everything will be revealed, but just now it's concealed. That's talking about being in Egypt. The Jewish people were in Egypt. They were the sons of God. They were the servants of God. But all this was concealed. In Egypt, they were just the servants of Egypt. And therefore, Kasher is born when a person, but nevertheless, it's all revealed. It's all here. Therefore, when a person thinks into all the revelations that are going to be, you should be very happy. Why? Because it's a thing that's right now. It's just latent. It's like if you're given a handful of, let's say, apple seeds or grape seeds. What do I got to be happy about? Says, listen, you have a backyard, right? Yeah. Put these seeds in the ground and plant them, and you'll see something will grow up. I don't know if it'll grow up right now. Maybe it'll take a year, maybe a couple of years, but eventually it's going to grow up. What's going to grow up? these beautiful fruits. What fruits? The same fruits we tasted when we left Egypt. Those amazing revelations of God, they'll be revealed again. So it's like we have the seed right now. This is something here he gives in a better example. So therefore, we should be happy even if we just have the seeds in our hands. What are the seeds? The Torah, the commandments. Ourselves, like a person that's very happy if he finds diamonds and gems that he has, even though that they're closed up in a box temporarily, Batevat Chatuma, in a sealed chest. But he knows that they're there for sure. So Zeh Gufa that itself, this is a preparation and a vessel to receive the future redemption, your joy and happiness and certainty that it's going to happen, that it will be in the redemption by means of the Moshiach Tzidkeinu b'meira b'yameinu soon. So therefore, we should be happy to know that all these things that happened going out of Egypt are going to happen again in a big way, and it's inside of us. It's just going to be revealed who we really are. Yud Beis. Echad Chacham, so it says that there's 4 sons. One of them is wise. One of them is evil. One of them is simple. And one of them doesn't know how to ask. Doesn't ask. So it's all these 4 sons, they ask questions. The wise son, he has the wise question. The evil son, he has this sort of, how do you say, challenging question. The simple son, he has the simple question, what is this? And the son that doesn't know how to ask, doesn't have a question. But nevertheless, he's considered to be one of the sons. What's the good of the son that doesn't know how to ask? You're going to see the Rebbe is going to say he's the best one. We'll see in 1 minute. Kavod Kadushi's Mori Chami, his honor, his holiness, my teacher, my father-in-law, Adonina Moreno Reno, our master, our teacher, our rabbi, Pirush, he explained the reason why the wise son is put right next to the evil son. Why? Because taken gamet Russia, because the evil son, the bad son, he is also at the night of the Seder. The Rebbe once said it's not here, it's in another speech that he gave, that there's a fifth son. This he said also, like, what is it, 1955? The fifth son. Who is the fifth son? The fifth son doesn't even come to the Seder Pesach. He doesn't even come to the Passover night. He doesn't even come. You have to go out and get him. That's the fifth son. And I say there's a sixth son. That's the Chabad. Let me put this over here. Some people like a bigger picture. There's a sixth son. That's the Chabad Chassid, that he goes out. He's also not at the Seder night because he goes out to bring the fifth son back. So he makes a Seder night in Bangkok or in who knows what, Kalamazoo or something. So he said that the that's the reason we put the wise son next to the evil son, because you have to fix him up. Because no one will get pushed away. It's a prophecy over there by Isaiah that no one, I think it's Isaiah, no Jew will be pushed away from God. But Tikono, but the only problem is in order to fix up the evil son, you have to have a very great power. Therefore, it's by means of the Chacham, but the wise son. Maybe we can explain it in a way that's possible. Maybe Derech Efshar, how do you say, could be, what explains it in another place. Gam Shalas Chacham, that the question that the wise son asks, what does he say? What are the Edus, Chukim, and Mishpatim? What are all these different types of laws for you? But so it's a question because he genuinely wants to know. There's a lot of what type of a question. He's wise. How is he wise if he doesn't know these things? Okay, but nevertheless, since the question that he asks, the wise, and even just a question to learn about Judaism, but he's already wise. It's not kedabai, but tachlis at shlemos. Therefore, because he's asking questions, that's not the ultimate way to approach Judaism. Ki b'kedusha and holiness ein tzorich liot shal. There shouldn't be any questions. Okay, we can understand the evil son has questions because he doesn't even believe in the whole business. So he's asking questions because he's got a lot of questions. But the wise son, he has a lot of questions because he's so wise, so he can ask really good, clever, proper questions. Not because he doesn't want to serve God, because he's got doubts, but because he has questions. Says the Rebbe that the fact of the matter is that serving God with questions, if they're real questions, they're serious enough that you ask them at the Seder night, then that's not exactly the way you're going to serve God. Why? Because no matter what answer you're going to get, it's never going to be sufficient to quiet down inner turmoil. If a person has inner turmoil, true inner, how do you say, doubts about should I really do what God wants or not, if he's got questions, then all the answers you're going to give him are not going to quiet him down. If his Judaism depends on any type of a logical answer, then when hard times come, or when he gets disappointed, or when the answer isn't sufficient, or things happen that there is similarly is no answer to, like the Holocaust, there's no answer to that. Can't answer it. There's no logic to it. So then there's no answer. So a person will say, well, I'm going to live my life in a way that there are answers. So therefore the way to approach the truth is supposed to be without any why. What do you mean? You're not supposed to ask questions? Because deep inside, every Jew knows without any doubt, that God exists, that the Torah is right, that his Jewish identity demands from him that he should repay God for what. Therefore, because it says there's a sentence in the Torah, Tamim tiyem Hashem Elokecha, you must be, how do you say, wholehearted with God. Wholehearted. Viktor Frankl says in his book, it's possible to be half sure and wholehearted. Half certain and all. So you have questions. So what? Put the questions aside. Well, Kapitkan, like the Prizia Bres Rebbe said, in the name of the old Hasidim, Farvus is a klippa. Asking questions can be bad. You have questions. Not bad to have questions, but don't demand the answers. Your Judaism doesn't depend on the answers. You want questions? What does your Judaism depend on? Wholehearted acceptance. That was Abraham. Listen, Judaism is based on this person called Abraham. What did Abraham believed in God because God is good, and God is life, and God is meaning, and God is truth, and God is love. All these good things. That's why Abraham served God. He wanted to spread out this message that the Creator, God, is good, and that he's life, and that he's almighty, and that he cares about us, right? And so God said, you really believe these things, Abraham? Yes, I do. He says, okay, you have a son, right? Yes, I do. Thank you, God. You gave me my son. He's now 37 years old. Take him and kill him. Abraham then said, hey, 1 minute. Are you sure this is God talking? Is there anybody else up there? Are you sure this is God talking? You want me? Abraham didn't ask any questions. Abraham knew that this was God speaking to him. How he knew, I don't know, but he knew. Just like the Jews knew at Mount Sinai, it was God speaking to them. And he knew that God is good and that God is right and that God is light and God's love. But it's the opposite of all of his definitions of good and life and love. But he didn't ask any questions. And that's the basis of Judaism. That's the basis of Judaism. To ask questions is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. You have to ask. That's the whole Talmud. It's questions. All the Maimorim of Hasidus. You ever learn the Maimorim? It always begins with a question. Questions are really good, right? But your Judaism shouldn't depend on the answers. Even though Shashal is a chacham, that the question of the wise son is because of his desire, because he wants to get more godliness. He wants to get some sort of an answer, take away his doubts, or at least even more to increase his connection to God. Nevertheless, asking questions. This is not a pure service of God. Therefore, the question of the wise son. I'm just trying to read what it says because the printing is not good. Mikavan, oh, that's it. Mikavan, since Shebeget or Shaila, that it is a question, therefore there can come out from it eventually all sorts of the question of the evil son. That's why we put them right next to each other. The evil son is next to the wise son, so the wise son will have a good effect on him, but he has to watch out that the evil son doesn't have an effect on him, right? That instead of him raising up the evil son and opening up his eyes that he's a Jew and that you should do, maybe the evil son will open up his eyes to say, hey, you got so many questions. I mean, you really want to live your life with all these questions. There was an example in the Torah. I mean, there's unfortunately terrible examples, but one of the examples is, first of all, the Jewish people in the desert, they were always asking questions, but there was Yerovam ben Nevat. Yerovam ben Nevat was a tremendously genius person. He knew everything, all the secrets of the Torah, everything that there was to know. He knew. And this is, we're talking about in the first temple, right in the beginning of the first temple. This is like tremendously high level of spirituality. And he was higher than all of them. And in the end, he worshiped the golden calf and he convinced everyone else to worship the golden calf. So in one way, not asking questions is not good. I mean, all the people followed him. They didn't ask any questions. They just followed him. So great. But on the other hand, because he asked questions and he didn't have the answers, so when there came a temptation, for him, it was political motivation. He didn't want the Jews, and he was the king of the upper 10 tribes, to go down to the lower 10 tribes. So he made a drive-in holy temple. And what do they do in the holy temple? They worship the golden calf. The whole thing was just insane, but in those days it really worked. I mean, it's something like the woke movement now, it's just insane. But people really go for it. They really are just, intensely, how do you say, devoted to this insanity. So not asking questions in one way is not good, because it can come the evil of the people that listened to Yerovam ben Nevat. They just went after their own desires. But on the other hand, asking too many questions is also not much better. So that you have the right, asking too many questions, that's like Yerovam ben Nevat did, and he just didn't, some things he didn't have any answers for, so he just left the whole business. Kamosha Sipur, like the first Rebbe, like the previous Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe said, that it used to be that his father, the father of the previous Rebbe, the previous Rebbe was the sixth Rebbe of Chabad, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, he would sort of, how do you say, what do you call it? Make fun of it. Anyway, belittle the wise son. Even though that it says that he is called the wise son, but nevertheless he's right next to the bad son. And that's what it says, that, and he used to say that therefore the next son, which is the simple son, he praised that's even better. That's even better, the simple son. And even more is the son that doesn't ask any questions. And he explained that the soul above, which is pure godliness, doesn't ask any questions. Which is pure godliness, but is the soul above is pure godliness, simple godliness, no questions whatsoever. When the soul comes into the body, so therefore it becomes a question. What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do here? Maybe God doesn't exist, etc. I don't feel him. But the son that doesn't know how to ask any questions, even when he's here in this physical world, his godliness is simple. He doesn't have any questions, whatever God does, like Abraham. All right, let me just say this next one over here. I know, so I say it inside. Oh, I'll say it inside. Here we have an interesting question. We talked about Abraham, right? So this whole thing of the exile, that the Jews went into exile, when did this begin? It began, then there was a big famine in the world, and the brothers of Yosef, they hated him, and they sold him. Previously, they sold him into Egyptian bondage, and little did they know, but he became the king of Egypt. It came out that it was really good. He became the king of Egypt, and he gave the advice to Paro, and he saved the whole world. And all the brothers went down there, and they stayed there. It was really good to them. And little by little, it got bad. It got really bad. And then finally, when all the sons when all the sons of Jacob, they all died. So here, let's see. When was this? I just want to take a look over here. When they all died, so that's when the exile really begins. Here, Rashi says when that was. It says, what's it? Vayamas Yosef Bakol Achav Bakol Dorahu was here. Here it goes. Vayamas Bakol Dorahu. That's 5. 1 second. Pasuk number 5. So it says, when is this? No, it's not here. It's something like, what is it, 119 years? I don't remember how long it is. They were in Egypt altogether 210 years, and Levi was the last one that passed away, and that was like 100 and something, 19 years before they left Egypt. That's when the hard labor really began. All right, I'll have to look for it later. I don't remember. I don't know why. Don't remember, but I don't. Okay. So what happened? Abraham was chosen by God, and Abraham makes a covenant with God. It's called the covenant between the pieces. Brit Bina Batarim. He took these animals that God told him, and he cut them into two, and he put one on one side, the other, and so to speak, God's presence passed between them. And God said to him, your seed is going to be a stranger in a land which is not theirs. And they're going to suffer over there for 400 years. It ended up that God made it only 210 years. They're going to suffer, and then they're going to go out with big riches. Okay. So it says that there's a midrash that says that really God gave Abraham a choice. He said the Jewish people are chosen, but they're going to have to be refined, purified. You have your choice. Either they can be refined in hell, or they'll be refined Gehenna, or they'll be refined in exile. And Abraham chose exile. Okay. It's known that Avram, it says Yodea, that's what it says. Yodea Tita. This is all mentioned in the Agad of Pesach. You should know the Geria Zaracha, that your children will be strangers in a land which is not theirs. From this came the sin of the strangers in a strange land. Strangers in a land which is not theirs. The Ivdum, and the Jews, they will serve them. They will serve these strangers, the Egyptians. Right? Again, so it's known that the children will be ger, how do you say, temporary dwellers. Temporary dwellers will be your offspring in a land which is not theirs, and they will serve them. They will be in servitude over there, and they will, and the masters will torture them 400 years, and then they'll go out with a tremendous riches. Okay. It says in the Midrash that God said to Abraham, what do you want? Your children, your offspring, the Jews, they should go down into hell and be purified, Gehenna, or in Malchus, or they should go into exile. And Abraham said, I would rather they go into exile. That's what Abraham said. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe asked the question, what's going on over here? What do you mean? That Abraham, why didn't he argue with God? Why didn't he argue with God? Why didn't he say he argued for Sodom and Amorah, not to destroy them? He argued even that Yishmael should be chosen. We'll see. Abraham was the ultimate good. He was the ultimate kindness until he found merit, even it says for Yishmael. And he said, Lu Yishmael Yechiel Lefanecha. He said, if only Yishmael should stand before. What happened? God said, listen, your wife is going to get pregnant. She's going to have a child. And Abraham said, listen, why do you have to make all this trouble, God? Here I have a son already, Yishmael, and he can be the Jewish people. Avram understood that that Yishmael, he would repent and that he would stand in front of God. In other words, even though Yishmael was not so good at the time, right at the time, but Abraham saw a good in him. He saw a good potential. If Abraham was so positive and saw good potential, then why didn't he see good potential in the Jews? Why didn't he find any merit for the Jewish people? Right? God said either they'll go to hell or they'll be in exile. Abraham said, I don't want either one. Right? I don't want either one. Why you get that's the only way you can refine the Jews. Come on, God, you're infinite. Ubafrat Shav Shazeh, it says Zayin. Shazeh, yeah, this was before the giving of the Torah. And it wasn't so I'll just say it wasn't so, the impact of sins wasn't so great. Didn't command the Jews yet, right? Jews didn't command it. So what do you want to say? The Jews have to be refined. And Abraham could have said, come on, God, what do you have to be refined for? They didn't do anything wrong. And the little things that they did wrong, this is before the Torah was given. You didn't tell them clearly what bad and good is. Abraham should have said, Shalo Yodu, no, I don't want hell and I don't want exile. Why did Abraham say, oh, we'll choose exile? The previous Rebbe answered, that's what it says, Be'eretz Lo Lahem. It says they went down into the land, your sons are going to go down to the land, which is not theirs. What does it mean it's not theirs? What does it mean? Since it already says that the Jews are going to be strangers, sojourners, what they call it. They're going to be temporary dwellers, ger, means like wanderers, temporary dwellers. So obviously we know that wherever they're going to be, that the land is going to be a strange land. It's not going to be theirs. It's the whole thing of gerus, of a temporary. Why did God have to say they're going to be temporary dwellers in a land which is not theirs? Why did he have to end a land that's not theirs? They're going to be temporary dwellers in a place. They're wanderers. Why does it say a land that's not there? So the answer is like this, that God was giving a hint to Abraham, our father, Hab kein moranit, don't have any fear. Ma sheger yazaracha, the reason that your offspring are going to be, go into exile and be just wandering around. Why? Lo lam, it's not because of them. Ein ze b'shvilam. This is not for their sake, to clean them off, clean out their sins or anything. They didn't do any sins. You're right, the sins aren't so bad. I'm choosing the Jews for a hard job. Bishvil avareret and itzutzot shebemitzrayim, in order to refine the how do you say, the mundaneness, the lowness of Egypt. Egypt was a place where every sin you could do, they did. They worshipped idols. They were licentious people. They were cruel. All the bad character traits that could be had, they had. And it was good for. They enjoyed it. They ruled over the whole world, the Egyptian. Well, that's not the way the world is supposed to be. And so God said, okay, the Jews are going to go into Egypt, and they're going to begin this process of refining the world, not themselves. The problem is not with themselves. The problem is with the world, and only the Jews can refine it. That's what it says, that the Egyptians will make them serve, and they will torture them. Right? They will torture the Jews. Will have to be servants, and they will be tortured. But afterwards, they'll go out with a big riches. What type of riches could you possibly get? What type of remuneration any normal person would give to say, okay, your children for 4 generations are going to be slaves, and they're going to be murdered and tortured and everything, but you're going to go out with a lot of money. Who cares about money? Well, you're going to torture my children. You can give me all the money in the world. I don't want. What does it mean? It means that not that the Egyptians will make the Jews slaves. The Jews, they will enslave the sparks of holiness of Egypt. Inu doesn't, it means to make them suffer, but it also means to be poor. You'll take out all of the success and the energy from Egypt that they get from doing all these terrible, selfish, negative things. You'll raise it up to holiness. You'll take from Egypt all of the sparks. Therefore, the Egypt that exists today is not the same as it was back then. Like it says, it says that they emptied out Egypt. It's like a fish pond, a fish bowl with no fish, or like a silo that hasn't got any wheat in it. And afterwards, you go out with the great riches. That's these sparks that they purify. And just as it is in the exile in Egypt, so it will be also in the exile that we are in now. Asher Ikar, that the main one minute, something happened. Maybe I left out a line, maybe. Oh, here it is. That the main reason of exile is not a punishment for the sins that we've done, right? Because the Jews, for instance, they went into Egypt. They didn't do anything wrong. They were born in Egypt. They didn't do any sins. The same thing, the reason we're in now. It's not like some people say that God is punishing us for whatever reason. No, we're in exile because to refine the sparks of holiness. God could have helped, could have forgiven the Jews, no problem. But he scattered us, and he did forgive us, but we're scattered around the world in order to refine the world. Well, but then now we can understand what the rabbi said. One of you is sent to Barbaria, one country, another one is to Samatria, right? One Jew is sent to one corner of the world, the other is sent to another corner of the world. Doma kamoshe galitam kulchem. So God said, I will exile a few Jews to one place, a few Jews to another place. And it's as though that all the Jews were in these places. At first glance, says the Rebbe, that makes no sense. How can it be that if just one Jew or a couple Jews go to some weird faraway place in Siberia, that this will take care of all of the sins of all the Jews? So according to what we said before, the whole reason for the exile is not to take care of the sins of the Jews. The sins of the Jews are not that severe. The reason that the Jews are in exile is and to refine the whole entire world. To refute Yityashed, now we can understand it. Kigam kasher, because even if just one Jew is in a place and he makes an effort and God gives him success to refine everything that's there, then this completes the whole intention of the exile. And it prepares that entire country for the arrival of the Moshiach. That he will yigale at the rechush, then he'll reveal the true riches that are found in every place in the world, the sparks of holiness, Gadol Hashem Ma'od, that greatness of God will be praised everywhere. We say in the Aleinu prayer that all the evil people in the world will turn to God. And the reason for this is that even one Jew can change the world. We see just in the future, 80 years ago, said there was one person, Hitler, right? He stood up and he threw the whole world into a bloodbath. In a way, if you go into Germany now, the German people, they don't really understand how in the world they did a thing like that. Okay, let's say it's in their blood, right? It wasn't hard for them to do it, but nevertheless, if you look at a little bit of the history of what happened over there, basically, Germany was like really on the rocks. There was poverty, tremendous poverty, and unemployment was like skyrocketing over there. I don't 70% or something. It's some crazy amount of the unemployment. And came this one guy, he was even on Time magazine. He was the man of the year. He just transformed all of Germany single-handedly. And everybody looked at him like he was a god, just one person. And he threw the whole world into this amazing bloodbath. I mean, he killed like 50 million people for absolutely no reason. He just attacked Russia, killed like 27 million people. People that had nothing to know, they didn't do anything bad to him. They killed them. And he killed French, and he killed Finnish, and he killed his own people also. Just killing and killing and killing until only one person could do that. Well, if one person could do so much bad, then one person for sure can do good. And even though it won't be in the same way, I mean, to do bad is very impressive. You do bad things, it's a very impressive thing. Somebody lights a bomb or something that blows up a building. That's a very impressive thing to do. On the other hand, to build a building, that takes a long time. There's a lot of buildings around with the big deal. Right? So doing good, there's no big fanfare, but nevertheless, it's good. It's good. And that's what the Rebbe says. God sends one Jew somewhere to do a little bit of good. We have no idea what the repercussions of this are. But nevertheless, that's the reason that the Jews went into Egypt, was to refine, take away the power of Egypt, the power of licentiousness and of idolatry, which was like super powerful, infinitely more powerful than it is now. Now we just have the vestiges of it, right? That's just sort of the last, how do you say, the exhaust that's coming out of the forces of evil. We just have to clear away the exhaust, all this woke movement and all that stuff. That's just the, how do you say, it's like smoke. It'll go away, no problem. It has no real basis to it because of the work the Jews did in Egypt and afterwards what they did in Russia and after they suffered and they hear this, that is what refines the world. And that's the idea of going out of Egypt and why they had to suffer in Egypt in the first place. Have a good day with Moshiach now. Thank you very much for coming and have a happy Passover. There won't be classes tomorrow and there won't be any classes until Sunday, God willing. Right? Tomorrow night is the Passover Seder, everyone. So wishing you a kosher and a happy Passover with Moshiach now. Thank you.